part of the recommendation, because I believe I'm correct in hearing that the Bank of Hemet had offered to allow that without penalty. So
Correct,
would
indeed.
that be part of the motion?
That would
as
be
well?
part of the motion. Yes, to accept the offer from the Bank of Hemet.
Thank you for clarifying
Move
that.
it without penalty.
That's important.
That's assuming the offer is still there, too.
And another thing too, I mean, if this is the last thing that we have in the Bank of Hemet, I think it's important for us to be using our local, whether it's shopping or our banks. Maybe there's something that we can still use the Bank of Hemet for, because I think that that's very important. So,
And I believe they do have
Whether
some
it's-
CDs coming up that
Yeah,
are good
exactly.
interest rate that we could benefit from, but we do need to have a higher interest rate than 0.4.
Well, more than anything, that we stay within compliance
Yes.
of our own ordinance is the issue today, I think. Lorraine, did you have something to say?
Just one comment. We do have one small checking account with the Bank of Hemet that we've had for years. It's for employee benefits for dental and vision, our dental and vision plan. Not a very high amount, less than $100,000. But we have had that with them for years.
Any other discussion?
Just have one comment that
Okay.
I'd like to make. I just want to say I'm thankful that we're moving forward with our investments and taking a harder look at them, because there was questions early on when I was seated as a council member when the investment reports came out, and I was looking at them really close, that seeing discrepancies in there, and it's nice to see that we're making the corrections that need to be made, and that we're moving forward to make sure that we're in compliance with our own policy. So I want to just point that out.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Please vote. And that's to take on the recommendation of the investment policy. And that passes 5-0, excuse me. Okay. Going on to item number 16, reconstruction or timeline of submittals of investment portfolio reports to the council. Marina?
Okay. So tonight I'm here presenting these last two items as a member of the Investment Oversight Committee. So the investment policy requires that the city treasurer provide a monthly report of the investment portfolio to the city council. However, it doesn't have a structured timeline of when those reports are to come to council. Our city treasurer has had the practice of bringing it to council the second meeting of the month following the report. So for December of 2018, she would have brought it forward at the second meeting of January of 19. With the Investment Oversight Committee now in place and an opportunity for the committee to review those reports and make sure that the committee is comfortable and that they're making a recommendation to the council to accept those reports as accurate, this requires more time for us. And so what we're asking is that the council consider restructuring those timelines and allowing for those reports to be delayed by an additional meeting. So, for example, the March report wouldn't come to council, would normally come to council the second meeting in April. With this new restructure, it would come to council the first meeting in May. And this would allow the Oversight Committee to review and have any questions answered that they may have.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item?
Yes, Sue Savage, and she gets 6 minutes.
Good evening again, City Council members. You'll be happy to hear this does not take 6 minutes or even close to 3. So, Regarding item number 16, the taxpayer base cheers the Oversight Committee's analysis of Hemet's 90 million taxpayer dollars. It is amenable to moving the end-of-month investment report to the third council meeting following month end. This means that reports will now be presented each month at the first meeting of the month. This allows the Oversight Committee ample time to review, examine, and have questions answered before we have to bring them to full City Council. So summarizing this, a suggestion to cause the investment report be presented the first monthly council meeting instead of the second current monthly meeting, which is where it's currently presented, is made. So thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Do any members of the City Council have any comments or questions?
I have a question. Currently, the reporting is done based on what the current treasurer, how she's bringing out the reports.
Correct.
So it
It's
seems
just
to be
past
different
practice.
if a new treasurer was elected, and this would just set forth policy in writing that this is how it's to be done and how it's to be brought forward to council.
Right, and it isn't stated in the investment policy, and we haven't had any discussion about whether it should be, but maybe that's the way that we ensure that it is brought forward by that third meeting, is to integrate that timeline into the investment policy.
Very good.
And I think tonight we're not asking for policy. I think that they are just changing a procedure. Right.
Yeah, because for us to change the policy, there has to be
Right,
a resolution.
that wouldn't happen tonight.
Correct.
Any other comments? With that, we have a
Second.
first and a second, and that is to approve the timeline procedure. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, she said that was.
Please vote. And that's approved 5-0. Okay, moving on to item number 17, request for qualification for investment advisory services.
Okay.
Dana, you're up again.
And again, as a member of the Investment Oversight Committee. So the City of Hemet's investment portfolio is managed by an elected city treasurer. Although the treasurer must abide by the investment policy, he or she has not historically relied on an investment advisor or on advisory services for investments. The Finance Department ensures investment totals match cash balances held by the city every month when we do our bank reconciliations. So we do make sure that that happens. The citywide annual financial audit reviews all investments and ensures the investment policy is being followed and independently verifies all investments with the banks that hold any city funds. In an effort to ensure that the city's investments meet the safety, liquidity, and return on investment requirements of the investment policy, members of the Oversight Committee recommend that the city review options for investment advisory services. So we did attach to the staff report a draft request for qualifications for investment advisory services that we've prepared. Since the preparation of this agenda and before this meeting tonight, there are some discrepancies that I'll bring up that we need to correct in that RFQ. There are still dates that need to be set in there, which would happen at the procurement level. So our procurement administrator would put in those dates as realistic timelines of when we would expect to receive those. While the RFQ is asking for qualifications for investment advisory services, firms have the option to expand their scope and inform the city of other services available. This is something new for the city of Hemet, so we don't really know what we're going to get back. We may realize that we want more than advisory services or that we don't need them at all, but at least we have to put it out there and get some feedback and some information on what those costs could be, what services are available to us. The procurement administrator would manage the RFQ through Planet Bids, which is what she uses for most of her bids. This will allow this search to reach more firms. that are already out there, that are already providing services to other government agencies. Once we receive, once the process is complete and the Investment Oversight Committee has reviewed all of the submittals, the committee will report the results to council and make a recommendation for future action. There's no fiscal impact. This won't cost anything. This is all done internally, sending it out and all that kind of stuff. But we are asking for approval to start this process.
Okay, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Let me guess. Okay. Go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
I think this is absolutely marvelous and a step in the right direction for the Hemet taxpayers. Thank you so much for your efforts.
Any comment or questions from council? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Just before you make a decision, I just want to go over a couple of these corrections that we need to make to this. On the first page of the request for qualifications, it states that the investment of the agency's surplus funds is guided by the California Government Code and the agency's investment policy, which is reviewed and updated annually under the direction of the elected city treasurer and submitted to the agency city council for approval. We just want to remove we just want to say that it's updated annually and submitted to council for approval, not under the direction of the treasurer. And because when we started this process, it kind of was more geared toward full investment services, and then we decided to look at advisory services. When the corrections were made on the 5th page, where you have the sections listed, I need to remove sections 7 and 8, which is the transition plan and the backup emergency, because with advisory services, we would continue to do the investment reports here. They wouldn't take it over, so they wouldn't require these sections. And